Howdy, my friends. Welcome to the wide world of health. Cary Nosler here, thanking you so much for joining us today. Looking forward to our interview with Rick Lentini today about something, a supplement, actually, that falls into the anti-aging category as well as performance enhancing and everything that is really considered positive in terms of enabling you to operate at a high level of efficiency. We're going to be talking about a very special product that has been known actually for thousands of years, have been part of the Asian repertoire of healing herbs, tonic herbs actually. It's called deer antler. Deer antler, in this particular case, velvet, which refers to a particular growing stage when so many particularly important factors, growth factors as they called, are available and which have been used for various purposes by healers for, again, as I mentioned, thousands of years. So I'm looking forward to that today because, as you know, I've been involved in the whole exercise scene, and always my ears perk up when I hear something that's really strikes home in terms of either helping me do what I do or helping you be better in terms of being able to perform on a high level for yourself. So we're going to be talking about that today. And again, our special guest is Rick Lentini, one of the most interesting guys I think I've run across in a long, long time. Such a varied career. He actually has a strong military background. Now, I think it's Special Forces. Sometimes I say Green Beret, but I don't. He can tell me. Green Beret, Special Forces, I'm not sure. But all I know is it was one of the very elite military units. He went into law enforcement in Chicago, where he was born, worked in that area for some time, also founded an international investigation agency, world-renowned in terms of just how effective he is at finding answers to problems that people have or organizations. That particular organization has a tie-in to our program today, incidentally, and we'll let you know about that in just a bit. Rick is also certified by the National Gym Association as a personal trainer. Along the way, he's become friends with a lot of folks who are involved in that area, including a fellow named Andrew Bostino, whose endorsements include Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Ferrigno, the late Jack LaLanne, and a host of other well-known fitness people. As an athlete, Rick also enjoyed a career, played with a group called the Chicago Chargers semi-pro football team, and during the strike-shortened season in 1987, the Green Bay Packers actually had him on for a bit in terms of their replacement team. Also found out Rick has a very, very strong connection with the movie industry. This was really fascinating. And again, another fellow that because of his association and fitness and helping prepare people for roles in different types of movies, worked closely with the Hollywood director and stunt coordinator, and the fellow who is known as the trainer to the stars, Jimmy Nickerson, who in turn worked with Sylvester Stallone for Rocky, Robert De Niro for the movie Raging Bull, in which, again, Rick also played a part in terms of having a small part in some of the movies as well. So again, very varied career, but one that going to attract us the most is his association with a deer antler product and a special formulation that he has worked over the years to bring to the United States, working in concert with special scientists in New Zealand, which turns out now to be one of the prime areas in the world for producing deer antler. So we've got lots to talk about today. And again, our special guest, Rick Lentini, joins us now from his home in Florida. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today on the Wide World of Health.
How you doing, Cary?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And I hate to rub it in, but here you are, as I understand, in the sunny state of Florida, and you've got your umbrella out.
Yeah, that's right. It's not too sunny today.
Well, it'll be sunny after we get through telling people about the amazing benefits of this deer antler. But as I mentioned, again, you still do work. You still are the CEO of a large organization that investigates different matters for people around the world. And I guess it was as a result of being in that kind of work that you were approached by one of your relatives who had a particular problem and thought you might be able to help him.
That's correct. At the time, I was about 16 years ago, and I still have the company today, the Intelligence Group International. as an investigator, my family came to me because one of our family members had ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And they wanted me to find if I could find a natural supplement that could help him because he was having difficulty breathing, swallowing, and walking, and all the things, the bad things that come along with ALS.
I imagine that was a pretty unusual request for considering the kind of work that you were in. How'd you go about finding something like that?
Well, it was a very unusual request, and the first time. But when family comes to you, you drop everything. And I did some research, and during my research, I found Dr. Alex Duarte, a wonderful man, and he did some research on MS, which is similar to ALS, and he worked with a wrestler, a sumo wrestler called Aki Bono, and another guy named John Abdo, very famous gentleman. And talking to, I reached out for Dr. Duarte in Hawaii, told him who I was, what I needed, and he told me that what I needed was a product called Deer Antler Velvet, which contained IGF, which was helping a lot of MS patients.
Yeah, and in fact, I guess that connection with John Abdo was kind of interesting as well, because wasn't Abdo really the first guy to bring back kind of evidence, as it were, that the Soviet Union then, which was the Soviet Union at the time, had been very actively investigating deer antler for use in helping their athletics.
That's correct. I believe the product used was pancreatine.
Yeah, and as far as I understand, that pancreatine is still produced in the Soviet Union. It was produced by the government in a special lab that helped its athletes. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, so he brings back this amazing news about the deer antler, and then so Duarte is, if we can continue the story, Duarte becomes friends with Abdo. He gets that information, and then he can make it available to you.
That's correct.
All right, so what did you do then when you found it? Did Duarte then turn you on?
I met with Dr. Duarte, and then Dr. Duarte in return flew back to Chicago, and we started developing a relationship and trying to find out where and would be the best place to find the deer antler that we needed. Dr. Duarte suggested New Zealand because they have the best product in the world. So now my quest now was to find someone in New Zealand that I could trust and give me the right product.
All right, so let's kind of up the story then. So you find a product in New Zealand. So what happened to your cousin? Did he start taking it?
Well, we found a scientist in New Zealand that worked for the Ag Research and for the government. He sent us some product, and we started giving it to my cousin, and we started seeing results. We also incorporated a doctor out of Reno, Nevada, and developed an IV form, injectable, because she can do that. She's a doctor, an MD, and it was really working for him. And his breathing and his swallowing and all his walking difficulties he started living a productive life. And then in the course of that, I became partners with Cliff Bellamy in New Zealand. And he's the one who makes my product today. I have the world rights to the strongest form of deer antler velvet / IGF.
Right. So something that happened to your cousin that wasn't good, that turned out to be okay, has led you into a whole new career path.
Yes, it has.
Now, in terms of this deer antler itself, we should establish this right at the beginning, because I know there's a lot of folks who are concerned about animal cruelty. And it turns out, Rick, as I understand, that in order to get the deer antler, you don't have to kill the deer. In fact, it's humanely harvested.
Yes, it is, Cary. The deer are treated very, very well. They grow their antlers about 2 feet long every 50 to 60 days. Then they're humanely harvested under veterinarian supervision, governmental supervision, and they're taken down and then they regrow the antlers, and every 60 days it's done again. The process is done again over again. And what we're looking for out of the antler is to bring it down into an extract. And our scientist in New Zealand has formulated this extract in different strengths. But again, the deer, no harm to the deer whatsoever at all. We treat these deers just as you would treat your home pet.
All right. Rick Lentini is our special guest. We're talking again about deer antler. Perhaps if you've ever visited a store that specializes in Chinese herbs as part of traditional Chinese medicine, you may, probably not, didn't because you weren't aware of it. You may have seen these little boxes with these thin sliced pieces of deer antler. Well, it was there for a purpose, and it's been used by them for thousands of years. We'll continue this discussion with Rick when we come back. I'm Cary Nosler. You're listening to The Wide World of Health. This is Talk 650 KSTE.
Think for yourself. Talk 650 KSTE. This is The Wide World of Health with Cary Nosler, brought to you by Sunrise Natural Foods. Talk 650 KSTE. Here again, Cary Nosler.
Yes, indeed. Cary Nosler here with you. Thanking you so much for joining us today on The Wide World of Health. Rick Lentini has joined us. He's the CEO of Nutronics Labs, a manufacturer of the highest potency deer antler velvet that is available today, a product that has literally changed the lives of a lot of folks, not just high-powered athletes, which really has received the most attention as far as using deer antler in some time, but folks who are just desiring a higher quality of life. And Rick, if we could kind of go back over, I realized obviously that the Chinese and other folks in Asia, the Koreans who are big users of deer antler, didn't know what was in it at the time. But what were some of the reasons that they were using deer antler in the past? What were some of the conditions that seemed to be affected by its use?
Well, they found that the deer antler was building a more powerful immune system. And in joints for arthritis, because it contains chondroitin and glucosamine, and it's all around health. They didn't. And back in them days, they didn't know too much about it, but they did know that it worked.
And again, a lot of things that pique people's interest today. It had a lot of apparently benefits, or they were calling it some type of a aphrodisiac type substance, as I understand.
Correct. It helps a lot with the libido. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, so now, though, we fast forward, we do know we have been able to analyze what's in this remarkable substance. And as you mentioned, one of the prime contributing factors apparently is something called IGF, or insulin-like growth factor. Talk about that to us.
Well, IGF comes from growth hormone. Your growth hormones is made in the pituitary gland, and then it's released into the bloodstream, and then it stimulates the liver to produce IGF. The IGF then stimulates the somatic system, the body growth, and has growth-promoting effects on almost every cell in the body, especially skeletal muscle, cartilage, bone, liver, kidney, nerves, and I can go on forever with that. But a deficiency in growth hormone could cause a diminished stature. Could cause a lot of problems in the body.
In fact, I think that's at this present time, the only medically accepted use for the recombinant DNA growth hormone that's available only through a doctor is for children who have a short growth or who haven't really achieved a full growth cycle, as I understand. But in this sense, as you know, growth hormone is kind of considered the elixir for anti-aging. The more growth hormone you have, apparently, the better it is. But what you're showing and what the scientists have shown, that as you said, it isn't the growth hormone really. It's just the fact that it's a signaling hormone to get the body to produce IGF. So well, I guess, Rick, the thing is that theoretically, if you could bypass that HGH to IGF conversion and just get to straight IGF, you should be getting the most powerful immune-boosting, growth-promoting substance we know.
That's correct, and that's what our product does. Our product goes directly into the system. We have a liposome delivery system. We have a chemist that is an expert who developed that system. And when you use our product, it bypasses the liver and goes directly into your cells.
All right. Now, let's go back over and talk about the deer antler itself and why it might contain something like this. As you said, it goes through the deer goes through a tremendous growth cycle in being able to produce this huge rack of horn, which they use for mating purposes to either fend off potential suitors or to, get their own mate in that respect. But in the process of that happening, all kinds of things. You mentioned IGF, but there's all kinds of factors, obviously, that are involved in growth. So what are some of the other substances that would be present in this natural substance?
Well, there's many growth factors, Cary. You got insulin growth factor 1, insulin growth factor 2, IGF-2, which now they're looking at Alzheimer's and dementia with the IGF-2, nerve growth factor, transforming growth factor, fibroblast growth factor, transforming growth factor, alpha. There's so many of them. I can go on forever naming them. There's so many growth factors in the antler and the product.
All right. Well, I guess the point I'd like to make, Rick, and you can kind of tell me how you feel about this particular idea, but sometimes the problems with either taking growth hormone or taking just IGF by itself is that you can develop some type of a problem and toxicity, as we have with human growth hormone. But the fact is that you've got all these substances in a natural compound, and it seems to me that it would facilitate a better utilization of the IGF because it's got its family, cousins and relatives and all those kind of things. So it's more in keeping with kind of the idea of using something in a more natural way to get the benefits that you want.
Correct. Anything natural is better, my belief. And I mean, of course, there's always a need for traditional medicine, but natural to me is better. And how we utilize our product and the delivery system and what's in our product and how we bring it to you in nanograms versus milligrams and no overdosing. And in 16 years in business, we have never had anybody have any adverse reactions or effects to our product, except a couple of professional athletes had called me up and said their libido was going through the roof. I said, well, if that's a bad side effect, then what can I tell you? But we have nothing but good results from our product.
Okay, now you said something very important, and I want to amplify that. You can overdose, let's say, on HGH as an injectable. You could even overdose on IGF as an injectable when it's taken that way as a pharmaceutical product. But when you take the deer antler, again, your body can only take as much IGF as it can take, as I understand. That you really can't overdose because if you get enough, that's it. The body won't accept anymore.
Correct, and with like I said, by giving it in nanograms, the slower the better. Not in that, if you're giving it to nanogram doses, of course, are a long way off of milligram doses. I think there's 1 million nanograms in 1 milligram. Okay, so it's a slow dose, it's a slower process, but people are getting results in 3-4 to 4 days. Now that depends on your age and your genetic makeup, the time of day, your sex, your exercise status, your stress levels, nutrition, your BMI. You know your own body, and everybody's. You can wake up tomorrow and your levels could be one number, and then the next day it could be another number. And I believe. I think the normal numbers for a female at 40 years old, I believe, in NGs is 79 to 246, and in the male 40 years old is 76 to 251. In 16 years, we have never had anybody go above that.
Now, that's an important factor because that means, as opposed to, let's say, taking HGH as an injectable, which now they have tests to show whether or not you've been drugging it, as it were. If you were to take deer antler velvet, as you said, you can't exceed the normal level as it is, so it wouldn't be a negative in terms of an athlete who's trying to improve their performance and worried about a drug test.
That's correct. This is not a steroid. There's no testosterone, methyltestosterone, or any other steroids in our product. We have it tested all the time. We know there's nothing in there of that sort, but we have it tested anyway just to post on the internet and to show people if they upon request. As far as being tested, blood testing or urine testing, you will not fail a urine test or a blood test by taking our product.
And that's kind of where some of the controversy has arisen, because folks might be aware that some of the professional sports organizations have actually come out against taking deer antler. But as you said, that's mired in controversy, and you've been very forceful in responding to those allegations.
That's correct. We feel very, very strongly, Cary, about some of their accusations, which came out not by Major League Baseball. I believe it was the Major League Baseball Association said it was contaminated and had steroids and methyl testosterone. Well, we proved them wrong, and we're still in a little bit of a battle there. The NFL has stated that it was a performance-enhancing supplement, but so is creatine and proteins and everything else. So, and plus it helps with concussions, and this is a main factor right now in football. I played football. This is a main factor in football. They should be more focusing on concussions, and Dr. Fong has done studies on this. And Dr. Fong, as you know, you interviewed him before. He done studies on this before about concussions in deer antler velvet, and how the faster recovery. And this is what we're arguing about. With the NFL has admitted that the product works. It is a performance-enhancing supplement. That's their only beef, so to speak, with our product, which I don't understand. Do you think they would want their players to be healthier?
Yeah, and especially, as you said, recovery, since so many of the players, as you said, now are suffering the side effects or the after effects of these concussions that they took during their playing career, and some of them have even had their brains analyzed after they've died, and it's shown that they were pretty badly damaged.
That's correct. They have a big lawsuit going on now with a bunch of former players that are suing the NFL because of this, and we always were taught in the old days to hit with your head, and that's the case. Now where we have products that actually help repair. I mean, we have professional athletes taking our product. They call us up every day, praising how they feel after a rigorous workout. Even double workouts, football players, baseball players. I can't name them again, but it's just amazing how they feel. Now they know their body. They're not making this up. We get several calls a day from all our clients, but we know the product does work, and it has all these marvelous effects on your body.
All right, Rick Lentini is our special guest today. We're talking about deer antler. And again, you're looking for something that kind of fills in the cracks, as it were, into your personal routine in terms of getting to be as good as you can be. This might be something definitely for you to look into. We'll come back and talk more about deer antler on Talk 650 KSTE. Cary Nosler, stay tuned. More coming up.
Talk 650 KSTE. This is the Wide World of Health with Cary Nosler. Brought to you by Sunrise Natural Foods. Talk 650 KSTE. Here again, Cary Nosler.
Yes, indeed, Cary Nosler here with you, enjoying the hour here, talking about deer antler. Something that, again, could be the missing link for you in terms of really feeling the way you would like to feel and getting that kind of zest for life that maybe you had before, which, again, is very consistent with the work that's been done. We've had programs on this before about the human growth hormone, about IGF, about just optimizing one's hormone levels. We know how important that is and how it's really a central cornerstone of the whole, what we call anti-aging. Certainly, we're all aging. I don't care. You can't call it anti. No one's going to stop aging. But what you want to do is, I guess, slow it down and optimize the performance that you have at the time. That's the key. And this could be one of the keys in that development because of its IGF-1 containing opportunities and also the other growth factors, which personally I find very compelling. If I'm going to take something, I want to take it with the constellation of substances, just like in a natural food. We know vitamin C is good, but we also know that vitamin C, with all the other factors that you find in foods, makes it even more effective. And that's where I think the real beauty of this particular substance comes in. Again, Rick Lentini, the CEO of Nutronics Labs. And Rick, let's go back to kind of New Zealand here, talk about that connection. You have engaged one of the world's real experts in terms of formulating this product. And as I said, Duarte initially talked you into putting it into a liposome formulation, which was actually different than what you started, as I understand. You started just using the regular deer antler that was put into capsules. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. We started out with capsules in the beginning, and then we figured it out. I met our chemist, Tom, and he was a specialist in the liposome delivery system, and we formulated there. Hopefully, some products will not work in that system, but ours did, and that was a few years back. That's about 14 years ago. We developed it, or 15 years ago, we developed it right away into a liposome formula, which you're getting 98% absorption rate. Whether if you take a pill, it's getting eaten up by the acid in your stomach, you probably get about 25 to 19%, which our product is giving you 98% absorption. So you're getting the bang for the buck, that's for sure.
What are liposomes?
Liposomes is a delivery system that lecithin is added to the product, and I'm not a chemist. I can't go into exactly how it works, but when the molecule absorbs under the mucosal, it brings it through the cells of the body, and it bypasses the liver and the acid in the stomach, and it just brings it to the lower intestine, and not even the lower intestine. Whatever comes, what is left goes to the lower intestine, but the rest of it's in your cells already of your body.
All right. So again, the difference being that the traditional way of using it as a powder or herb or tincture or decoction is that it has to go through additional processes to get used. But here's the good thing. I mean, obviously, Rick, it was very useful in the prior form. So it's still very good that way. But what you're saying is that you've just been able to use the newer technology to make it even better.
Right. And Nutronics Labs, like I said, we strive to make it better all the time. In New Zealand, we're making a stronger product all the time. We have from 3,000 to 200,000, which will be coming out next week, 3,000 to 200,000 nanogram products in our line. So we're very proud of that, and everyone there's use for if somebody can't afford the 200,000, they can use the 300. The 300,000 is still going to do the job. But some people beat up their bodies so bad in sports, they need that extra boost. They need the 200,000 or 100,000 or the 25,000. I myself take 100,000 twice a day, and throughout the day I take the 25,000.
Yeah, okay. And again, the fact of the matter is that you have so many formulations, not only, as I understand, that it does meet the needs of people, but again, you're developing, as you develop more, you're able to offer more in terms of the strength factor. I mean, you would have, in the beginning, had you been able to do 100,000 or 200, you would have, but the technology just wasn't there. It's been evolving.
Yes, it wasn't there, and we talked about this way back when, 16 years ago, and we said, I mentioned to our partners in New Zealand, I said, how long is it going to take before somebody catches up to us on the 2,500 nanogram? He says, about 10 years. Well, we have tested all of our competitors' bottles, and they have not yet. They put things on the label, but they have not yet to catch up with us, even up to the 2,500 nanogram.
All right, and I do want to get into that. I guess we can start now at this point, but that's kind of been a thorn in your side, as I understand, and as we all know, unfortunately, the good part of the supplement industry is that we have a wide variety of products to choose from, very, very innovative substances like the deer antler that's available. The downside is that, from several sides. Sometimes the quality of whatever that they're using is inferior. They don't even put as much in a supplement as they say they did. We've had that happen before. It's been contaminated. That's a problem. And then people just make false claims. So I think the false claim area is something that you really are familiar with, unfortunately.
That's correct. In my Chicago office, I probably have about 30 bottles sitting on the shelf that we have tested, and we send it to a good laboratory. That's a governmental laboratory. We have it tested for IGF levels. And what they put on their bottles one company put 100,000 nanograms on their bottle. It rang out to about 400 nanograms when we got done. And this happens with all of them. Nothing has come close. That's way off. And the only one that's getting cheated is the consumer.
Yeah, well, does the FDA monitor that in terms of false
yeah, they
claims?
do. When the FDA finds out about it, but the wheels of justice work slow. They're very good at what they do, the FDA. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They try to keep control, but there's so many. Like 16 years ago, I was the only company out there selling the product, and people were looking at me like I was crazy. What is this, Duranda? What does it do? I got that a lot, but now everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon because they're seeing they see that it's popular and they want to make money, so they'll put water in the bottle to make money. And that's competition is good. I love competition as long as you're telling the truth. Be honest. If somebody comes up with the same amount of potency that I have in my product, God bless them. I'd be more than happy to even help them. But the problem is today that everybody is trying to make a fast buck out there, and it ruins the marketplace. All
right, Rick Lentini, at least you don't feel very strongly about that point, right?
No, you know how strong I feel about that point.
Absolutely. We'll hold that thought. We have one more segment coming up, and we'll kind of pick up on that as well to give you, the consumer, a better idea just what you have to deal with out there as far as making intelligent choices. It's one thing to really know to get something, and it's another that you should be able to really get what you think you're getting. That's my philosophy as well. More coming up on the Wide World of Health. Talk 650 KSTE. Cary Nosler here. Stay tuned.
Think for yourself. Participate in the debate. Talk 650 KSTE. This is the Wide World of Health with Cary Nosler. Brought to you by Sunrise Natural Foods. Talk 650 KSTE. Here again, Cary Nosler.
Rick Lentini, our special guest, a man of many hats, a policeman, military experience, international investigation, movies, and now, thanks to his research, the president and CEO of Neutronics Labs, the makers of a very premium deer antler product that we've been talking about, a liposome preparation. And must say, unfortunately, we're going to have to pick up, Rick, on the things that you were talking about before the last break, and that's terms of people saying things they really shouldn't say that aren't justified in terms of a label. Now, I do know we don't need to mention them, but you've been making some products for people over the years in terms of kind of the lower potencies. But in terms of one that is definitely just yours, what level is kind of the dividing line between you and the rest of the industry?
Well, as far as the ones I supply to, or just...
No, I mean in nanograms. If we see a nanogram product, for instance, there's 3,000, whatever, I'm sure there's some of those that you've manufactured, but above that level, is that just going to be Neutronics?
Yeah, I have not seen anything right now. Well, I sell to some companies a certain nanograms, but I have not seen any other companies that we do not sell, because we have the world rights to the strongest potency extract in the world from New Zealand, and we can say that without a problem. But I have not seen anything over 3,000 nanograms from another company unless we sell it to them.
Gotcha. All right, so that's kind of way for the consumer to know just what's going on.
Correct.
All right, now let's just talk about the cost as well. I realize this is a premium product, but what are we looking at in terms of people using this? How long does it last, for example, a bottle of a product in terms of using it the way you have it on the label, for example?
Well, every bottle lasts 30 days. If it's used correctly, and it has to be used correctly, you have to shake the bottle well. You have to use it every day. I look at it like a diabetic with taking insulin. You would take your insulin every day. If you didn't, you'd be in trouble. Well, if you don't take this, you won't be in trouble, but you're just defeating the purpose. You need to take it every day. One bottle lasts 30 days, and that's how you get your levels back up to where they need to be. And you'll start feeling it. And if the 3,000 is not strong enough, that means you need more. Then you got to go to the 5 or the 10. Your body will tell you where you need to be.
All right. Now, when you take this, are there any contraindications? Can you take it close? You shouldn't take it, obviously, the same time you're eating and all those kind of things. But are there any special precautions people need to take?
Well, I don't. You can take it on an empty stomach, but I don't believe in taking any supplement on an empty stomach. I would say an hour after a meal would be fine, and then before a workout and after a workout. If that's what your goal is. If you're just all around health, just take it right after you eat breakfast or lunch, but do 2-3 times a day as directed on the label.
Any contraindications taking it close to bedtime?
No, I mean, I did have some people say on the higher doses that they had more energy when they went to bed, so that's why I have a product called Sleep Miracle. But that's another story. But, they say that they had a little bit of energy, so I told them to cut it back, to 6 hours before sleep or 7 hours.
All right, but the bottom line, truthfully, I mean, you could literally take it any time you want to, as long as you didn't notice any untoward effects.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, but you mentioned you can take it all the time. Athletes are notorious for cycling things, saying, well, you better stop it for a while so that your body doesn't get used to it. You're saying that doesn't necessarily matter here? The object
here, Cary, is to keep it in your system, keep your levels up to where they need to be, because your levels can fluctuate. It's like testosterone levels in men. They fluctuate every day. From stress, from anything, they can fluctuate. From illness, they can fluctuate. So we're talking about keeping your IGF levels up to a certain point where you're feeling good and it's doing good things for you.
Now, again, I know you're not a chemist in here or a physician, but if someone were to get a hormone level done, and we talked about measuring IGF, but does taking IGF or taking something like that's kind of a broad-based foundational substance for your body, would that positively affect other hormones that you might be able to bring up other things to be better, in terms of a more normal level?
Well, it's a known fact that IGF levels will bring up naturally your own testosterone. It's not giving you testosterone. It's not a recombinant. It's your own. It brings up your own testosterone levels. It raises them. And so if you're taking the IGF, Nutronics Labs IGF, you're raising your own testosterone levels also, but not to dangerous levels, to where they should be, to the levels that they should be in.
Right. Okay, so I suspect that probably that's another question when we talk to Dr. Fong, and we should ask him in terms of when he does test patients' hormone levels, besides testosterone even, will it help normalize things? I would have a suspicion that it probably would, since you're talking about something that's so natural to the body that it would be able to do the other things as well.
Well, I noticed in myself it has put my thyroid back in check. It has put my cholesterol back in check. Ever since I've been taking it, because I love to eat bad food sometimes, and it would put I have this cholesterol problem, but it put it all back in check. But if I take it every day, religiously every day, it puts all that back into check. I had people tell me that I don't suggest this, but I had people tell me they got off of thyroid medication their doctors lessened their insulin. Because of the IGF. There's so many things the pills that they have gotten off of because of the IGF. And some people got off of sleeping pills because it keeps them awake, it helps them sleep.
All right, so as you said, it's probably a good idea if folks are really interested in that and are taking thyroid to work with your physician, if you take this, to monitor it and see what's going on. That would never hurt at all.
Always ask your doctor, absolutely.
All right. Well, good. Well, I can see now you have an excuse when you go back to Chicago to visit all your Italian relatives and eat all the Italian food, so you just keep pumping in that deer antler, right?
That's right. I have a bottle with me everywhere I go.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Now, Rick, quickly with the few minutes we've got left here, you said there is a site as well where people can go. It's an independent site. You don't own it. You don't have anything to do with it, but it does kind of rate some of the deer antler?
It's a deer antler watchdog site that some people put up because they were getting, these people got together and they put it up there because some of the products they were using were not helping them, and they noticed that they were wasting their money. So they put up a deer antler watchdog site. So I guess if you go on deerantlerwatchdog.com,
okay,
you will see this.
Okay,
site.
But one last thing though before we go, for your information, is it Nutronics Labs .com?
It's neutronicslabs.com, or you can dial 1-800-883-3144 and order it by phone.
So neutronicslabs.com.
Correct.
All right. Well, Rick, again, very informative. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Go outside, but don't get wet, and then we'll look forward to talking to you again.
And I want to thank you, Cary, for having us on your show, and I want to thank all our customers, because if it wasn't for our customers, we wouldn't have a company. So I wanted to thank them, and God bless our troops.
Thank you, Rick. That's it for the Wide World of Health. We'll see you next week on another edition of the Wide World of Health.